country over racial disparities in the criminal justice system. Commenting on the shooting on Fox News, Giuliani said, "Politicians' rhetoric as well as protests exacerbate the tension. We had 4 months of propaganda, starting with the president." Listen carefully. "We had 4 months of propaganda, starting with the president, that everybody should hate the police," Giuliani says. The protests are being embraced. The protests are being encouraged. The protests, even the ones that don't lead to violence, a lot of them lead to violence. All of them lead to a conclusion. The police are bad. The police are racist. That is completely wrong. Giuliani claimed that Obama said something akin to "everybody should hate the police," struck as overheated right off the bat, so we decided to look into it. We asked Giuliani for a response, but we didn't hear back. About 1 month ago, Giuliani faced backlash for some controversial remarks about race and the criminal justice system. He questioned why the same American protesting black deaths at the hands of white police officers do not voice similar outrage about black on black crime. In response to his most recent comments, we sifted through Obama's statement and interview on the subject since August, when the situation first bubbled up excuse me, after a white police officer killed black teenager Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Even the most distorted readings of Obama remarks cannot be interpreted as encouraging police to hate the police. Encouraging people to hate the police. Obama has repeatedly emphasized that the work police do is dangerous to themselves, but very important to the community. He has said that although a gulf of mistrust exists between local residents and law enforcement, an oft-repeated talking point, the vast majority of law enforcement officers do not carry out the law in a discriminatory manner. He also argued that improvements achieved through peaceful and cooperative means is necessary. Part of Giuliani's point is that Obama has been empathetic to the protesters, which he has been, though cautiously so, and he has always discouraged violent protests and excessive police response. Now, I'll just give you a little few selection of telling passages from Obama comments on race and the criminal justice system since August. And the article says, "We fail to see how they support Giuliani's point." On August 18, Obama's first statement following Brown's death: "There is never an excuse for violence against police or for those who will use this tragedy as a cover for vandalism or looting. There is also no excuse for police to use excessive force against peaceful protests or to throw protesters in jail for lawfully exercising their First Amendment right. Put simply, we all need to hold ourselves to a higher standards, particularly those of us in positions of authority." Obama's August 18th statement following Brown's death: "I've said this before. In too many communities around the country, a gulf of mistrust exists between local residents and law enforcement. This is not an argument that isn't real crime out there and that law enforcement doesn't have a difficult job and they have to be honored and respected for the danger and difficulty of law enforcement." So, in all of these remarks, and here's the ruling. Giuliani said Obama has said that everybody should hate the police. Throughout all of his comments since August, when the latest unrest over racial disparities in the criminal justice began, Obama has continuously encouraged working with the police to find solutions and make change. He has also repeatedly emphasized the importance of law enforcement in communities of color and the fact that police officers have a dangerous job. Giuliani's claim is an outlandish distortion of what Obama actually said, and we rate this pants on fire. So there you go. They're rating it pants on fire by Mr. Rudy Giuliani, our former esteemed mayor of New York. And this is part of the problem that we have, ladies and gentlemen. When we go on the news and we distort information. You use information however you want to do it, however you want to use it, however you want to, how you want people to think about it. And here is another one. You hear that it appears that the lives of police are in more danger more than anything else. And you hear them comment about this on Fox. You hear them, Fox always give you these type of comments. But in thinkprogress.org, here's an article dated today by Karima Tongues. Police fatalities have dropped sharply since the 1970s. A new report from the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund found that the number of firearm-related police officers' deaths in 2014 is below the decade average, and that the rate of these deaths have been trending downwards since 1970s. Nevertheless, several advocates and news outlets seized upon a one-year rise in the number of police shootings as an evidence of a broader trend. Of the 126 cops who died in the line of duty in 2014, the leading cause of those deaths were firearms, which killed 50 officers. Every one of these deaths is a tragedy, but the good news is that this figure is below the decade average of 53. Between 2000 and 2009, the average was 57. Indeed, that average has been in decline since 1973, when 156 cops were killed by guns. 2014, however, does follow a year that saw fewer officers killed in the line of duty by guns than any other year on record. Last year, 31 officers were shot and killed, a 38% decrease from 2012. The number of gun-related fatalities actually dropped to a 126-year low. Nevertheless, as the data indicates, the overall number of deaths in 2014 is consistent with a downward trend. The spikes in death in 2001 result in part from the attacks on September 11. 72 officers were killed that day. Yet, despite the overall downward trend, Memorial Fund Chair and CEO Craig Floyd suggested that the one-year increase in fatal police shooting is a part of a general trend of distrust towards police officers. With the increasing number of ambush-style attacks against officers, I'm deeply concerned that a growing anti-government sentiment in America is influencing weak-minded individuals to launch violent assault against the men and women working to enforce our laws. Police death gained national attention when the two NYPD officers, Rafael Ramos and Wenjan Liu, were shot execution style in their patrol car on December the 20th. Their death, which follows week of national protests for police reform, raised tension between Mayor Bill de Blasio and NYPD officers. That tension was put front and center when hundreds of uniformed officers turned their backs to de Blasio when he spoke at Officer Ramos' funeral. So, that is just to give you some facts, ladies and gentlemen. And I must tell you that some of the information you get here, you're not going to get that in mainstream media. Mainstream media doesn't want you to know that type of information. They want to give you the distorted information so you can have a distorted perception of what things truly are than what things really are. Yes, there's a distinction, a big distinction. And sometimes we need to get those distinctions. Now, we had discussed in the past, Notre Dame has created a course called White Privilege. And this course has created some controversy at Notre Dame. Now let's take a listen to the audio about this course at Notre Dame with respect to white privilege. The University of Notre Dame is garnering national attention after announcing a seminar next semester about white privilege. The course is called White Privilege, an introduction to the intersection of privilege. The class lasts 6 weeks and only 10 students can take it. But it's had a lot more people talking, from Notre Dame students to everyone's good friend, Bill O'Reilly. Senior Mark G. Fowler went on Fox News last week to voice his opposition to a new class about white privilege. So let's see if we can get that audio up here about white privilege.
Well, it certainly is a tough topic, but one that is taking center stage nationally and locally.
We're talking about race relations, and Notre Dame is getting national attention, all because of a new class. Now, WSBT 22's Zach Crenshaw shows us why students and professors are standing their ground. Zach.
The class is about white privilege. Only 10 students can take it. It lasts 6 weeks, and it's got a lot of people talking. It's got everyone talking, from Notre Dame students to Bill O'Reilly.
Now, the University of Notre Dame will actually offer a course on white privilege in the spring.
Senior Mark Gianfalo went on Fox News to voice his opposition to a new class about white privilege.
Doesn't seem like it's, offering a wide array of opinions. And that's really the problem, right? It's a white privilege seminar. It's not a social stratification course. It's not exploring privilege in any sense or every sense.
Mark says the class attacks Caucasians and isn't objective.
It seems to be a course that really indoctrinates students, not educates them, which is what a university system is for.
But it's clearly not for everybody.
Sociology chair Rory McVeigh approved the class and says it's what higher education is all about.
I really worry about a situation where, ideas can't be expressed in a university and where students can't get together and engage in academic literature and talk about issues that are so important.
When I talked with students, it was clear many of them had heard about the class and seen the clip on Fox News. But the opinions varied on whether or not the course actually belongs at Notre Dame.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, a college is a place to explore different types of knowledge, and if someone wants to learn about that they should be able to.
I think it's just an interesting time for the university to pick to have this class. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I'm sure they've thought it through.
Mark says his goal isn't to get the class canceled.
The key is just to spark conversation and really wonder why the university is doing this and to make people aware that the university is doing this.
And people are definitely more aware.
I don't think that the guy who made it on Fox News actually understands what the aim of that course was. I don't know. I think that the outcry is uncalled for, frankly, until people understand both sides of the situation.
Now, as I mentioned, the class will only take 10 students, and it culminates with them going to a white privilege conference in Kentucky. The goal of the course, according to its description, is for students to leave the class more aware of injustices and better equipped to disrupt systems of oppression. In the studio, Zach Crenshaw, WSB.
And there you have it. Notre Dame is given a white privilege course. Now, I want to close the night with an interview that Tim Wise had on CNN with Don Lemon. It's very interesting, and if you know, Don Lemon comes out and says some things sometimes. But here is that interview between Don Lemon and Tim Wise. Take a listen.
Let's continue the conversation now. My 5 tips for African Americans prompted strong reactions, even some outrage, some anger, some shock. Our next guest has 5 tips for white people to improve race relations or improve their conditions. So anti-racism activist and author Tim Wise joins us now from Nashville. Tim, man, I got a scathing email from you. Why were you so mad at me?
I wasn't mad at you, man. I just think that the words Bill O'Reilly didn't go far enough should never be uttered by anyone in this country, let alone you. But, that was my beat.
Well, my thing is that there are many things that Bill O'Reilly and I disagree on, but this just happens to be one subject where we agree on a few things. And so, as I said, don't shoot the messenger, attack the message. So, here, fix the message. So listen, you've been on this program. I was like, did Tim think this was the last conversation we were going to have about race? And you have been on this program 23 times since 2009, and that's a time that our booking department alerted you Not the times where I called you and personally asked you